our own Josh Hawleys. Do the Democrats have their version of Josh Hawley? Do the Democrats have their version of Ted Cruz? Is there anyone you can think of?
That's some homework. Put that out to the group.
A-hole Democrats in office, elected a-hole Democrats.
You know, I think under normal circumstances, we probably could have said yes. Like there was a time when they stood out. Frankly, right now they just don't stand out because there's so many on the other side. I mean, the last 4 years, you know, we keep saying the last 4 years, like the trauma and just like one bad thing after the next. And
yeah, it
makes it so that all of that is just right there in your face and you can't even see anybody on the other side. Looks calm and, you know, rational and smart by comparison. So, but yeah, looking back, I remember was it 76, 70, I don't even know, or 80 or
I
something.
was just a baby back then. I wouldn't know.
Oh, you don't remember. But you've heard tell when Ted Kennedy was asked why he wanted to be president, right? And he did not have an answer.
He can become stilted, elliptical, and at times appear as if he really doesn't want America to get to know him.
Why do you want to be president?
Well, this nation can cope and deal with its problems in a way that it has in the past. We're facing complex issues and problems in this nation at this time. And the energies and the resourcefulness of this nation, I think, should be focused on these problems in a way that brings a sense of restoration in this country.
I was a kid, but I mean, I knew that's bad. And of course, then you go on to study it later on and you realize that's really, really bad. Like that's a huge screw up. And there have been other screw ups, you know, that we've seen with the Democratic Party. Well, in the primaries, right? If we're going to throw some people under the bus, there were some other candidates who were, you know, I won't forget the Vegas debate anytime soon. Don't we wish everybody could be like a certain person?
I wish everyone was as perfect as you, Pete, but let me tell you what it's like to be in the arena.
That's not very nice. And yet there were certain candidates who never went low like that.
For a moment, let's talk about the Ted Kennedy moment. Let me take you back to Gary Hart. Picture of him with, I think her name was Donna Rice, on his lap. And there was the picture, it was on, I think it was on the cover of the Inquirer. He had an affair, done. Done. You couldn't possibly be president of this country now.
What about the guy whose wife had cancer and was dying and he's off, remember that one? John Edwards.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
See the pretty girl in that mirror there. Look at that attractive girl there.
Yeah, that was bad. Now, how did you feel? Did you have an opinion about John Edwards prior to?
I feel stunning and entrancing. Feel like running and dancing for joy.
He was sort of the third place candidate at the time because you had Hillary running and you had Barack Obama running. And I remember thinking about him thinking, well, he's okay, but he's the third tier, maybe next time.
But here's the thing about him. In that field of those three, when you consider the old version of presidential and what does presidential look like, and I'm going to put in air quotes, handsome, white politician versus the woman and the black fellow, right? Like that's hit him in there. He probably thought to himself he was a shoo-in, right?
Yeah, he had a lane all to himself.
But to me, he didn't rank at all. I didn't even consider him.
He was a little too young, and I don't mean that age-wise, but I just mean in terms of political communication. And I really kept putting him in the category of next time, John Edwards. And boy, did he just implode.
Yeah.
And God, now, and I don't know what the marriage was about, you know, were they both terrible to each other? Were they just both hanging in there because of politics? Maybe they wanted to be divorced. I don't know, but then he denied the affair. He denied the child. That's the part that really upsets me so much, is that he brought a child into the world and then publicly denied that child was his. I think that to me is just an unforgivable thing. Elizabeth was it Elizabeth? Was that her first name? Elizabeth Edwards had cancer. I mean, that was awful too. But
she was dying. I mean, she
Yeah.
was dying, and yet she like pulled herself together and went and did campaign things. I mean, insane. They had also suffered incredible loss in that their son, who I believe was college age, was killed in an accident. And I know it affected, I mean, how could it not affect a marriage, a relationship? It has to. And it did. She talks in her book, I've read her book, about how she would go to the, grave, I mean, every single day, and just, it was just a really hard loss.
Did Elizabeth Edwards write that book after these scandals? Is it a book that addresses how
it addresses that? And I mean, it was finished, I want to say shortly before she died. It's pretty poignant. She may have started it beforehand. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It's been about 7 years ago since I read it. But and she's very gracious. She's very gracious. And even with the way she speaks about him, and the other woman too, who was supposed to be some sort of political advisor, or, it's sort of a thing like that. There's an excuse, and obviously people become very close on campaigns, all of that, but I doubt everybody sleeps with somebody on their campaign. So.
Oh yeah. I take politics out, human nature. I get it. You have to think about what you're potentially sacrificing. If he didn't care about the marriage, he had to think about his future professionally, and it just
reckless, right? And I know money was being paid to her, right? So he had somebody else paying money. I mean, it's just a whole
right.
thing.
And then that guy admitted, he said he was the father of the child. Oh.
Right. He took the fall. Yeah, it's just.
You're right.
I don't know. Once you start lying about things, right? Once that happens, it's just bad. And then what do we learn from the whole Watergate, right? It's the cover-up that kills you. Like sleeping with the woman, nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. Now we're psychoanalyzing them. I mean, we are professionals here.
I will say one of my favorite movies is a movie called Network. And in that movie, have you not seen Network? Oh, geez, Mary. All right. Well, this is a small point. William Holden leaves his wife basically for Faye Dunaway. This is 1970s. And the wife has a scene. It was really her only big scene in the movie. She ended up winning an Oscar for it because she just lays into him for doing this. And she's like, we've been together forever. And if nothing else, I expect allegiance. And she's like, this isn't just you having a little weekender with your secretary, and that's sort of how I feel about this, and Elizabeth Edwards being very sick. And if you are married to Elizabeth Edwards, wherever that marriage is at that moment, are you a decent partner or not? Be there, don't be elsewhere. And now we're going to take a moment. You are going to watch the movie Network if I have to buy you the DVD. You want to talk about a movie that predicted where politics and entertainment would be decades down the road. This is the quintessential movie.
You got it.
Holy cow, it's amazing.